Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Monday, August 20th, 2018. Hope everybody had a great weekend. We'll start off tonight talking about the solar conditions right now, which right now our solar wind speeds are sitting at 671.6 kilometers per second. So just a tad bit elevated there with a density of 9.7. Taking a look at our sun, we have AR 2719. Is growing rapidly, does not yet pose a threat for solar flares, and they say the word yet, and I'll show you why here in a bit. Sunspot number 15, still sitting at 132 spotless days for 2018. Take a look at our KP indices, and we were at a 4 about an hour or two ago. We have dropped down to a 2, so we are moving away from storm conditions, but still experiencing higher solar wind speeds, and here's why. Very quiet on the sun as far as less activity, but we have a lot of coronal hole action as well. And I'll go ahead and take you to the SDO in motion, and there's a lot going on. Let's start with our current situation here. This is what's giving us the 600 plus solar wind speeds right now, and then we have a little bit of action here as a coronal hole rapidly develops. Right here we have seen this coronal hole. We got this a couple weeks ago where it comes back down like that. That's when I believe we started getting some of those 6.5 earthquakes a couple weeks ago. And then of course we have the sunspot AR 2719, which I do want to zoom in just a little bit just to kind of show you that she is kind of crackling with some energy here. Not a lot, but still trying to wake up. And let's go up here and take a look at some of the stats for today. Here is the ACE, and you can see that the solar wind speeds have really been elevated for the past several hours, and we're looking at near 700 kilometers per second on that. And then I'll take you up here to the proton flux, and that's been getting a little bit more. This has been rather dead. This has been the common pattern here in the last couple of weeks. And now we see today a little bit active, nothing more than a B, so nothing to worry about, but still a little bit change there. And there is where we saw twice within the last 24 hours that we have almost touched storm conditions at a KP of 4. So still quite not there, and we are watching it drop once again as it was to a 3. Updated now, it is a 2. Take a look at our TSI reading for August 11th, 2018, peaked out at a 1360.806. So on this scale, it is quite a bit of a jump, as you see before it. Prior data coming back, it's a very small change and slowly inclined. So a little bit of a sharp action there for the TSI. Not a lot, though. Very minimal. And we'll start off with some articles. Typhoon Soulik approaching southern Japan. Landfall is expected in South Korea. A very strong Typhoon Soulik is approaching southern Japan and is expected to cause strong winds and drop heavy rain in the southern western parts of the country. According to the JMA, it will pass very close to Kyushu and the Amami Islands on the evening of August 21st, which is tomorrow. The typhoon will start weakening over the next 36 hours and approach the Korean peninsula with maximum sustained winds of 86 miles an hour on the 22nd of August. We're talking record rain. Some parts are going to get 7 inches in Tokai and about 5.9 inches in western regions of Kainki and Shishaku over the next 24 hours. 15.7 inches could fall in the Amami region in a 24-hour period on the 22nd is what they're calling for. And between 7.9 and 11.8 inches of rain is expected in southern Kyushu and the Shikaku regions as well. Now, we've been talking about Kyushu quite a bit, and they seem to keep getting typhoon after typhoon. So we'll keep our eyes on this situation. But this is just one storm. You guys can see it on the satellite clearly. There's the leader, and then we have this one right here, which is going to impact just north of the regions. This storm is going to impact the southern regions and putter out in here, and this storm is going to go across the midsection into near China as well. So lots of action going on right now. Major damage after 2 tornadoes ripped through North Island in New Zealand. Gee. A large waterspout formed in the Bay of Plenty in New Zealand on August 20th and hit the Hope Beach just after 17:30 New Zealand time. It says at the same time on the other side of the North Island, another damaging tornado hit near Plymouth. Or New Plymouth, I should say. Eyewitness said, saw a massive waterspout come out of nowhere. We all ran downstairs and hid in the bathroom. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Seems like every time I read an article off the Watchers, I get that phrase, that quote thrown in there. At least 6 properties damaged with roofs torn off and windows smashed, but there are no reports of injuries. The tornado caused significant damage to 2 properties and moderate to further 4. And here's tons of video footage. You guys can check it out. 11 homes suffered major damage and 20 with minor. Said a fire emergency in New Zealand. No one was injured. 37 tornado-related incidents. So only about 1,700 homes were left without power after the area was struck by lightning and heavy rain. And some more headlines from down south. Brutal cold snap. Mount Bueller received 11.8 inches of snow overnight. That's the most in that area or that resort has received in over 14 years. An EF1 tornado hit central Mississippi in the city of Madison. It swept through Madison on August 17th, snapping trees, damaging multiple structures. Winds at 97-mile-an-hour gusts was recorded as the tornado crossed Bruce Campbell Field, and about a dozen homes in the Sandalwood subdivision had structural damage. So very minor. Look at this, 300,000 acres of crop damage once again in Telangana, India. Italy seems to be the magnet of all of the weather phenomena this year. Spectacular microburst was captured in Cassano, Lazio, Italy on August 18th. Late night storm sweep through Kyiv, causing severe floods. This is in Ukraine. Dropping heavy rain and hail, producing strong winds. The storm caused severe flash flooding, flooding homes, cars, and washing away pavements. I saw a couple videos of this. Buses driving down this. Look at this wind. Goodness. 1 foot of hail falls here in Rosita, Colorado. This is not snow. August 18th. A foot of hail. Yeah. And of course, unfortunate more mishaps. 1 killed, 3 missing after landslides in the regions of Kerala. A mudslide even trapped several families in Charleston, Virginia. The heavy rains saturated grounds here in the East Coast. And on a lighter note, and this was probably for the better, 14 people, that part is not, 14 people injured, severe storms rolled through, canceling a Backstreet Boys concert. That was probably the silver lining of the storm, was that the show was canceled. Thank you. Okay. Guys, I'll leave the link in the description. You can check out more headlines. A lot's been going on. Thanks again to the Watchers for trying to keep up. Here was the other typhoon I was talking about, Rumbia. Wreaks havoc in across central and eastern China. Oh, wait, this is a different one. I'm sorry. There's too many to keep up with, guys. Look at this. 1.37 million acres of crops have been affected by this storm just now. And then they talk about here at the bottom, they claim that earlier there was another almost 300,000 acres. So almost 1.5 million acres of crops have been destroyed by this storm. Precipitation was exceeding 19.68 inches, while daily precipitation has set records in 8 meteorological stations. Cosmic ray influx, okay? More particles, more highly charged particles, It's like steroids for any raindrops or snowflakes or hail. And we've seen it all year. And we've also seen the reports from SPACEWEATHER.com where the recent study has shown that we are now 18% still increased on the cosmic ray. So I think it's starting to be a little more evident. And these news headlines every day are showing us the effect of cosmic ray influx and these rain bombs, especially the one in Italy. Like I said, it just feels like they're the ones that's been getting hit really hard. But I was talking about the snow, too, in Australia, where they got the 11.8 inches overnight. It's the most they've seen in 14 years for an overnight total. So that's a late season snow for them down there. Deadly floods hit the Indian state of Karnataka, I think. Karnataka. That's it. Karnataka. Bookings have been canceled. Now, this is a common phrase we're starting to see now, too. And the headlines is travel is being affected. Vacation is being affected. Leisure time. Unfortunately, at least 12 people have been killed and over 4,300 rescued in the Karnataka district of Kodagu on the border of Kerala, which we all know they have been taking a pounding there with rain and flooding issues. Last reported there were over 130 deaths in Kerala from the floods since August 14th. And they're talking about here, heavy rain started affecting the region, like I said, August 14th and intensified on the 15th, forcing authorities to issue heavy rainfall warnings for the districts of Kodagu, Dakshina, Kannada, Hassan, Chikkamagalaru, and Shivamogga. The worst affected was Kodagu, where a total of 845 houses have been damaged, out of 773 partially damaged. The storm also damaged about 76 miles of roads and 58 bridges, 278 government buildings, and approximately 3,800 electric poles as of August 20th. Again, bravo to the watchers for accumulating these statistics. Really pinpoints. But this makes me think about here in central New York, where a government building was badly damaged downtown Saratoga. And, I mean, lightning struck the top of the building, created water damage on every floor of the building. And it's an older building. And I know this because I was watching the news footage where they were showing the crews bringing the clean out. And the material they were demoing from the building looked a lot similar to what Mari and myself have demoed in her childhood home, which means, you know, we're talking 1800s. So I think the reason why we're seeing so much damage to so many government buildings as well, not just here, but overseas and every other place, is that a lot of these government buildings are very old, outdated infrastructure. Sure, they've had cosmetic upgrades and this and that, but when you think about it, a lot of these places now that we're seeing getting damaged, bridges, 58 bridges, that's quite a bit. Now, I guess I need to look at the region's infrastructure before I make these claims. For all I know, these bridges could be poorly designed in the first place, but still an impressive number. And it just makes me realize that I think what it really comes down to is that the infrastructures in a lot of areas are deteriorating and are old and outdated. Lull in activity at Kilauea volcano continues. Sulfur dioxide emissions drastically reduced. Good news, finally. The lull in the activity at Kilauea continues. They've lowered the alert for ground-based hazards, a warning to a watch now, but the aviation alert still remains at orange. This change indicates that hazards posed by the crater collapse events at Kilauea Summit and lava flows in the lower east rift zone are diminished. However, the change does not mean with absolute certainty that the Lurs eruption or summit collapses are over. It remains possible that eruption and collapse activity could resume. And they say this because I've talked about this several times when we talk about Kilauea. You know, this is not unusual activity from Kilauea. They had the last sizable one they had was in 1969 through 1974. And so that was quite, 5-year event. It's only been roughly 4 months since this went off, May 3rd of 2018. So it really hasn't been going off that long, and it wouldn't surprise me if activity does continue in the near future. But it's good to hear that the sulfur and all that stuff is lowered, And I'm sure the residents in this area are relieved. And another stat to throw out there too, the national park out there has been closed for now 102 days, and that was as of today, August 20th. So not just families and people that live there are affected, but other tourist attractions. This is costing the state of Hawaii a pretty penny, and very unfortunate for those folks out there. And I saw this. I'm going to read this article. This is on the No Trick Zone, one of my favorite websites to grab articles on. A lot of times I need to read these a few times, but this one's kind of cut and dry here. Temperatures can be measured from the ground and from satellite. Satellite data has two versions, UAH and then the RSS. The version of UAH makes a solid impression. The RSS version shows a larger deviations and suggests a stronger warming. How come? Both data sets surely get their data from similar satellites. The explanation lies in a post-processing of the measured values by the RSS group. In the chart below, you can see the old version in red. Global temperatures based on RSS satellite measurements from Climate for You newsletter 2018. And it says at some point from mid-2015, the RSS people pushed the temperatures starting at year 2000 manually upwards. Therefore, today you can find values of the blue curve in the database. As a result of the subsequent data change, additional warming was generated at a speed of 1.5 of a degree. It doesn't sound like very much, but it's much if you consider that the 20th century warming was only an 1/8 of a degree, or 0.8 of a degree, sorry. Data on statistical steroids, basically. It's a little bit like a year 2010 high jump world record of 2.40 meter, later being changed to the 2.45 meter by International Athletics Federation. We could call this desktop doping, which would certainly not be a bad description for the RSS intervention. It says here, RSS statistics massively massage their data under the radar without any interest from the media. A few years later, new heat records get surprisingly reported, but in many cases, like solely through the heat-promoting measures of desktop doping. The changes happened to affect the hiatus phase, as it apparently had to do with the fear of the warming would not continue. The values were simply raised. It's a classic case where the readings did not confirm the models, but instead of improving the models, the measurement data were changed. There are hardly any other disciplines out there where things work this way. Once again, it's clear that we urgently need climate-related checks. The damage to trust is already done. Now only stricter checks can help, and restricting employees in case of suspicion, lifelong in the case of repeat offenders. Climate fraud. Proposal. Anyone who fabricates or falsifies climate data and brings these willingly into the public should be punished with 2 years in prison. Now, that's not a bad idea as long as somehow that doesn't get twisted on the cooling community, because right now we already have censorship on YouTube from the global warming crowd. Usually when our videos are up, maybe once or twice a week, there'll be a global warming video card below our video contradicting what we're saying and what the message is. Talk about confusing the curious listener out there who is unsure if we're cooling or if we're warming, or was this man-made or is this natural. God forbid somebody out there just wants to learn about natural cycles, because really that's what this channel talks about when it comes to El Niño and everything that we talk about. Solar, it's cycles. Everything cycles. So to contradict this channel, to me, just shows lack of intelligence from the people who are in control of that, honestly. We just simply disagree with man-made related climate change. And I got more to talk about on that here just in a second, but I want to report this real fast. I spoke with people who are from Australia, and they live in a place where the energy costs are through the roof. And people fear that the people that are in charge there politically aren't going to do enough about it to help ease the prices. Well, that may not be the case now. This little article here demonstrates that Australian leadership was actually going to embed some of these Paris Agreement targets in their national legislation. And the Prime Minister basically pumped the brakes on that and put a stop to it. So they're not going to go by Paris Agreement targets, but they're going to go by their own, which the reason why they're relaxing their targets now is because they want to make, here, listen to this, same thing China said. They want to make energy affordable for its citizens. So the drumbeat's getting louder. Australia is now jumping out of this whole idea of the Paris Agreement. They're also seeing the negative is outweighing the positive. Our president told us that we were going to be spending billions of dollars through this Paris Agreement. And I didn't know what he meant by that until I started reading the articles on what's up with that and No Trick Zone. And what I learned was that we were fronting the majority of the Green Climate Fund. And that's where he was talking about the $100 billion that he saved this country. It's a huge money pit and very, very unfortunate one. I was talking to Mari about this the other day where Bernie Sanders was posting on his Facebook page about how climate change is very real and everything that we're witnessing right now is because of man-made global warming, and if we don't do something about it, you know, this world, that's it, time's up. And I think what the biggest problem is that people like Bernie Sanders and Al Gore, they don't have to do any real research because they already hold a platform. They're already elected officials, voted in people to run our government. So they don't have, they just have to recite what a cause or whoever lobbied them, whoever put a bunch of money in their pockets to say, listen, we're going to die if we don't do something about this climate change. So here's where the show continues to show the ignorance of the world. And I'm by any means am I trying to insult anyone here, but this here is Stevie Wonder. And it says here, you think your life is bad? Stevie Wonder's paying $25,000 a month in child support for some kids he ain't never seen. I know, that's messed up. But to justify this meme, I will say this. There's rumors that he was never really blind. It was all an act. But, however, he is blind. Stevie Wonder links Aretha Franklin's cancer to global warming. That's kind of why I wanted to show this. You know, because he's a goof. And here's what he says. The article goes on. Stevie Wonder visited the alien star days before she died and said that at that point she was unable to speak. And he goes on talking about how I have to, you know, celebrate her life, blah, blah, blah. Wonder drew a line between increase of cancer and the ignorance of global warming. And this is what Stevie Wonder said. I just feel that all these various diseases that we have and all that is happening in the world is because of those who don't believe in global warming. Don't believe that what we do affects the world. Heat affects the world and affects us. I just hope that people will grow up out of the foolishness and know that we all, by now, how we think, how we view, how we treat others, we will never unlock the key until we truly let go of the hatred, the bigotry, the evilness, the selfishness. We do that and we can unlock some of those things that keep us in this place. Stevie Wonder. All this, again, taking advantage of his already platform. Okay? I mean, clearly, he could see the data right here. Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. Sorry. I mean, it's right in front of his face. He could see it. No, he can't. Oh, wait, he can't. Whoops. But, I mean, is this ridiculous? This guy Is this a new Stevie song? Let's try it. Heat affects the world and affects us. I just hope the people will grow up out of the foolishness and know that we all by how we think, how we view, how we treat others. We will never unlock the key until we truly let go of the hatred, bigotry, the evilness, selfishness. We do that and we can unlock some of those things that keep us in this place.
Are you okay, Jake?
I'm just trying to figure out what in the hell was he rambling on about. We're supposed to be mourning the loss of Aretha Franklin, and he wants to bring global warming into this because he can see the temperature rise, folks. I'm sorry. It's too much. It's too much. I know, but it's Monday. I had to start. You know, sometimes we get serious around here. Some people might be offended by now. If you are, I'm sorry. But this is just ridiculous. And like I said, Al Gore, Bernie Sanders, and now Stevie. Yeah. So watch this morning's appearance. No, don't watch it.
See the asshole of the week?
You know what? Stevie is the asshole of the week. Sorry, buddy. I know you're disabled, but disabled people are still assholes of the week too. So Stevie definitely won it on a Monday, dude. That's the record. That's a record. So just thought I'd throw that in there to let you guys see how ignorant global warming information and the people that sponsor it really are. This is embarrassing, Stevie. Why don't you stick to writing songs like you did here in your little speech? We know it's going to be coming out with some kind of really cool synthesizer beat soon. So can't wait for it. It's probably called Al Gore, You Were Right. Oh, I'm showing this because I guess I kind of harassed a local meteorologist today in Western New York, and he's claiming he's comparing what's happening right now for El Niño development to what happened in 2015, which was the Super El Niño. People were in shorts around Christmas. I remember that. I was at a Browns game actually on December 15th of that year, and I was wearing shorts and a light jacket. That's unheard of in Cleveland, Ohio at that point of the year. So, but still, the fact that he was comparing this potential El Niño to this year's El Niño, and here we are, just ever so slightly below that magic number. But I still see a steady declination. Modaki at best. Neutral is what I expect, honestly. Who knows? We have seen cooling today. Here's the East Tropical Atlantic. It dropped as well. Under 5, below baseline. Let's see. We have the North Atlantic. It also dove a little bit. And we see it got a little warm. Negative 0.291, I believe, and it dropped to negative 0.308. Not a lot of drop, but we see this double peak, and then it makes you wonder if we're going to start seeing the decline of the North Atlantic once again. It's been kind of steady and consistent for quite some time, and then just here recently in mid-July through the end of August, it's been very erratic, very short increase and decreases, baby stepping it all the way up and down. So, we are August 20th. We'll see what happens. There's still a chance, I guess, that we could see these temperatures go above baseline. I mean, anything's possible, right? The unknowns is what I keep hearing about the grand solar minimum. We're running into the uncharted waters and the unknown. And it sure feels like it. All right, moving along here. CBS tries ridiculous scare tactics with nearly non-existent West Coast hurricanes. Another fun article that I brought amusement to me. I guess this is comedy hour now. From the lack of understanding about cold California current department comes this bit of excessively stupid reporting. And this was Anthony Watt's words, not mine. Since 1850, only 7 tropical cyclones have brought gale force winds in southwestern United States. 7. Okay. CBS scares viewers with predictions of climate change causing West Coast hurricanes. Even as NBC Today's show recently reported that climate change would actually cause fewer hurricanes in the Atlantic during the 2018 season, on Saturday, CBS This Morning warned viewers that warming ocean temperatures could potentially lead to hurricanes in the Pacific hitting the California coast. Right. There was one that did manage to reach as far as San Diego in 1858. Not saying it couldn't happen. But here we have one of the #1 mainstream media channels, CBS, scaring people, fear porn, right there on free TV. Now, they say in one breath that global warming would cause fewer hurricanes in the Atlantic, and that's their new revelation this year. But in August of 2017, and thank you, Anthony, for pointing this out, CBS blamed climate change for causing Harvey and intensifying its devastation in Texas. So which is it? Because the ocean temperatures were definitely a little bit warmer last year than they were this year. I mean, this year you want to claim that global warming is causing less hurricanes in the Atlantic. Okay, how's that? But then last year you say that Harvey is the cause of, it's a result of climate change, global warming. Oh, there's a climate change happening, that's for sure. But these AGW people are hiding behind the term climate change because they know they don't have the solid evidence to say we're at global warming anymore, because they know it's not global warming anymore. So they want to change the narrative and try to drive climate change in for as long as they can. And then when it happens, when it starts getting cold, well, we said it was climate change. We've been saying this for years. I can hear it now. Wait till 2020 rolls around. They're going to blame, Al Gore is going to, praise himself for calling I told you the climate was going to change because of the warming. We went back into a mini ice age. And then stupidly, right when he says that, we'll go back into a normal, a normal part of the cycle, and it gets warm again before it gets really cold in 2030. That's what I kind of hope for. We're not going to get that warm climate that we've seen in the past. I mean, it's going to be about equal to what we're witnessing right now. For 25 anyway, cycle 25. It's 26 that I'm convinced that we will see the beginning. We are in the beginning, but it's hard for me to translate. I think you guys know what I'm saying. That the actual grand minimum itself is going to be around 2030. That right now we are descending towards the grand minimum on the predictions of these solar cycles that are upcoming. What we've seen from 24, what we're predicting for 25, and what's to come with 26. I've seen all the way through 28, and that's what makes me believe this is going to be a very long minimum. This is going to be, to me, a modern minimum, if not worse type of a minimum, to be 400 years plus long. And as weak as the solar cycles they are predicting to be through 28 is, to me, is why I'm saying long term. But we're not going to be around, unfortunately, 400 years from now. I don't have to worry about living to that claim. But if we go by with the data and the predictions of the people who study this and do this for a living, right now I expect a continued declination into the grand minimum, and a very long drawn out one at this point from the way things are looking. There's a lot of stuff that we've never seen before, and that's what makes me worry about how bumpy of a ride are we going to handle or face here in the next 10 to 15 years, and then beyond that. All right, so I'll get off my little gloomy stuff there. I did want to share this. I'm not going to read this article, but climate claim, all available options should be assessed for reducing population growth. The reason why I wanted to share this is because there was an individual, several individuals actually, on Facebook that talk about dropping the population will stop the planet from warming. I hear it all the time. We need to cut back on population. We're getting too big. We're getting too big. Okay. Then explain to me what happened here. 1,000 years AD. What happened here? Here's us right now. tail end of that. That's where we are as far as our climate and how warm we have been. That's where we've been from the little ice age. We've climbed up this high above baseline. Pretty significant as far as what the climate was like back then, over 1,000 years ago. Or more than that, I'm sorry, 1,000 AD. What I'm trying to relay is that our CO2 levels are at 411 parts per million, and this is how warm we are. Back then, we were only at 280 parts per million. Back then, we didn't have 7.4 billion people on the planet. Back then, we weren't driving Range Rovers and putting CO2, or harmful CO2 as these AGW people put it, into the atmosphere. We didn't. I'm just, when I hear stupid claims like, well, if we cut back on population, you know, we'll save the planet. Again, I want somebody to explain to me how we had record warmth in the period of the medieval warm period. Record warmth, but almost half of the CO2 concentration level. Half. Almost. 280 parts per million. We're sitting at 411 parts per million now. I mean, this is the stuff that I just, you know, I shake my head at. Even Stevie sees it. He can see it plain as day. All right, taking a look at our watch map for NOAA. We do have some thunderstorm watches, severe ones out here in Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky. These are all in the western states. We've got some flash flood warnings in Wisconsin, the Northeast. How about that? We are quiet. Some thunderstorm activity in Utah. Take a look at our radar right now. We do see some showers of major, well, I wouldn't say major, but a pretty large low pressure system trekking across the Midwest right now, western parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Mississippi. And also large amounts of rain. That's why we see these flash floods right now for some counties in southern Wisconsin. Right in this area, seeing a little bit more rain showers that we have. Now, I will say this, this right here, this region has diminished. So that's encouraging. Of course, we are past the sunset, so we are losing the energy from the heating of the day. And these showers are expected to redevelop at some point tomorrow afternoon around western New York and points eastward. But again, guys, oh, yeah, and the GFS is temporarily down. So the last time it started its update was on the 15th of August, and this takes us out to the 30th. But again, this is information that was modeled out 5 days ago. So we will have to wait for however long it takes. It says it'll be back soon. A lot of problems with tropical tidbits as far as our GFS plots here lately. But as I was saying, no major storms to talk about. No tornado threats tonight. Nothing. It's all quiet here in the States other than some heavy rain in southern Wisconsin and some storms and showers in the western states of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Mississippi. All as well for an August 20th evening. And most of the temperatures are pretty nice right now as well. I know we're sitting at a very comfortable 64 degrees with no humidity. And up here in the Northeast, near Vermont, we've experienced some heat and humidity. More like the kind of heat and humidity I'm used to in Southwest Ohio and parts of Tennessee, and not up here in the Northeast. Once again, we'll look at the temperatures in the SSTs out there in the Atlantic. Everybody that I'm showing you right now has had a value drop today. So we have been on the drop. Monday was on the down low. But with that being said, I would like to say hello to my very special producer, Mari, and, you know, see how everybody was tonight in the chat. Hopefully no one wants to start sending me hate mail.
Everyone's taking your Stevie Wonder jokes with a grain of salt. We're all laughing.
Good.
Having a laugh, you know, making jokes in the chat ourselves, Jake. So, you know, you're going to get people that are going to not have a sense of humor and going to get mad, aren't you? But we have a great group of people in the chat, as always. Not a whole lot to report, just a lot of laughs.
Good.
Right now, Jake. Thank you for the laughs.
Well, you know, and
that
there,
singing that you did, They were actually asking for encores in the chat. The Stevie way. I mean,
I should have done it in my Stevie voice. You know, like maybe try it harder.
Your voice.
It affects the world and affects us. I just hope that people will grow up out of this foolishness. Know that we all, by how we think, how we view, how we treat others, will never unlock the key. There, it's better, I guess. Okay, so thank you for tuning in to this wacky Monday edition of the Grand Solar Minimum News. We hope you got something out of the video. Please like and share, and we will talk soon, folks. Take care.